Bill Gates has been gobbling up land for years now. He's actually one of the largest private farmland owners in the United States, with over 270,000 acres across multiple states.
In 2020, Bill Gates made headlines for becoming the largest private farmland owner in the U.S.
But China's got Bill beat by a long shot. They own around 384,000 acres of agricultural land in the United States, land which collectively was worth north of $2.2 billion when they bought it.
In addition to this land that they're buying up, they've also bought the nation's largest pork processing plant. They're buying up grain mills.
There are a lot of different places to park your money if you're a billionaire and you want to invest in real estate, although typically you hear about these types buying penthouses in Manhattan, mega mansions in California, or if they want some cash flow, maybe they'll buy into a real estate investment trust that owns property like multifamily, office, or medical space. But there's a whole separate subset of billionaires who are picking up land as their preferred asset class.
America is enormous. Yet 100 of the richest and largest private landowners in America own 1.86% of all the land available in the United States.
Along with Bill Gates in China, we've also got Jeff Bezos, who owns around 420,000 acres. There's Stan Kroenke, a real estate and sports mogul with a portfolio of around 1.6 million acres. There's the TV producer Ted Turner. He's got 2 million acres. And we've got John Malone, a telecommunications expert who owns 2.2 million acres of land, over twice the size of Rhode Island. My question is, what's the reason for buying a bunch of farmland in America, especially if you're not a farmer? And why are people like Bill Gates and even more alarming, countries like China choosing to park so much money into agricultural property out here? Farmland has always been an essential part of America's economy, culture, and way of life. And for centuries, people have worked the land to grow crops, raise animals, and feed their families. I mean, in reality, agriculture is kind of the backbone of the U.S. economy, generating billions and billions of dollars in revenue each year.
It's about a $3 trillion asset class when you look at the whole U.S.
From that standpoint, I guess, yeah, sure, it kind of makes sense to invest some money into farmland. It is worth mentioning, though, that the history of farmland in America is also marked by some conflict. For example, the Homestead Act of 1862, which was a program that granted land to settlers who moved west, was in theory a net positive, but it did have some negative implications, one being displacing Native American communities. Fast forward to today, and we see a different type of conflict emerging around farmland ownership. Bill Gates, who is best known as the co-founder of Microsoft and as one of the richest people in the world, has been quietly buying up farmland across the United States, mainly through his investment firm Cascade Investment LLC. Like I said, Gates now owns over 270,000 acres of farmland in 18 states, which has raised concerns among some people about the concentration of land ownership in the hands of a few powerful individuals, and the impact that this could have on smaller farmers and rural communities. See, one of the most common uses for this farmland, if you're a billionaire and you're making a purchase like this, is actually to buy the farmland and then lease it right back out to the farmer. So in those instances, it's not really horrible if somebody like Bill Gates is buying this land and then just leasing it right back out. A benefit here to the farmer is that the landowner will usually lease the land at a pretty low rate because as the owner, they're receiving a tax advantage on the back end. The average cap rate on farmland is much lower than other real estate asset classes, sometimes as low as 2%. The farmland that Bill Gates and his investment firm have been buying is located all over the place. We're talking the Pacific Northwest, the Midwest, and the Southwest, with most of the acreage concentrated in Arizona, Nebraska, Arkansas, and Mississippi.
Life is changing. I'm about to become a grandfather. I reflect on the challenges we have right now with climate change getting worse, the Ukraine war, tough economic cycle.
According to public records, the majority of the land Bill is buying is used for crops such as corn, soybeans, cotton, and potatoes, with some of the land also used for grazing and raising cattle. And for a price reference here, these swaths of land aren't cheap. In 2018, the property Gates bought at Horse Heaven Hill, I believe, was his biggest buy to date. This deal went for $171 million. Gates' plans for this farmland are not entirely clear. There's definitely some conspiracy theorists out there there who think that there's some ulterior motives here. But the boring reality is that Gates just says he's using this land as a place to park part of his $130 billion portfolio. He even addressed the matter in a conference last year when asked why he was buying so much farmland. He replied saying, "I own less than 1/4,000th of the farmland in the US. I've invested in these farms to make them more productive and create more jobs. In fact, all of these decisions are made by a professional investment team." I believe him, I think. Yeah, I believe him. The supply of farmland in the United States is decreasing at a staggering rate of 1.9 million acres per year.
Agricultural farm prices, food prices are at all-time highs.
And this, coupled with the fact that the world's population is expected to reach 9.7 billion by 2050, which will require a significant increase in food production, I'd say that whether you believe Gates or not, farmland does sound like a pretty sound investment at this time. Now, this all seems like a sound investment for a multi-billionaire. I'm not going to question Bill's motives anymore, but what the heck is China doing buying up all this land in America?
In recent years, Chinese nationals have been buying up real estate around the country at increasingly higher prices than other foreign investors.
The land China's been buying seems like regular old farmland used for crops like corn, soybeans, wheat, and cotton. But unlike with Bill, there does seem to be a bit of an ulterior motive here, or at least some people seem to think so. The Chinese government has actually encouraged these investments as a way to secure food supplies for its growing population. For one, China happens to be the world's largest consumer of soybeans, so it kind of makes sense that they want some ownership on the import of agricultural products. And by owning farmland in the United States, China investors are able to secure a stable source of supply.
In 2021, the government says U.S. farmers exported $177 billion in products like soybeans, corn, beef, and pork.
Some people insist that them buying up more and more U.S. farmland could actually mark a security threat, especially in light of what's been going on with the spy balloons that have been being shot out of the sky over the past couple of months. The biggest concern here is simply that China is gaining power over global markets which endanger American interest, and that if China has more control over the food supplies around America, then it will in turn give them more power over America and over the globe. To put some numbers on this, NPR reported that the Chinese party has increased their holdings of foreign farmland by 1,000%, and they now own 1,300 agricultural processing facilities outside of China, with that number growing rapidly. So with China investing more and more into foreign farmland and some countries not fully understanding their motives, I think that it's only right to ask some questions. Federal law does mandate that when foreign entities buy land in the United States, this activity needs to be reported to the USDA. So from that standpoint, we do have a pretty good hand on the pulse with this activity. But the drama and red flags run even deeper on some of China's purchases. It was especially alarming when a Chinese company bought up farmland in North Dakota for $2.6 million that is located just 20 minutes away from the Grand Forks Air Force Base.
Fong USA chose Grand Forks as their flagship location for a wet corn mill. This will be the largest single private investment in the history of our region.
On one hand, the town is outraged and opposing China's plan with their new plot of land, wondering why in the world does China need to own such a big plot of land in such a peculiar location. But on the other hand, the city's mayor pointed out that China does plan to build a $700 million plant here, and the plant will create a bunch of jobs, so we should just kind of let them do their thing. It's not my place to say whether or not it's okay for somebody like Bill Gates to be buying up a bunch of farmland in America, or if it's truly putting the country at risk with China buying up a bunch of land either. But I do think that it's a good plan to have better transparency and regulation around farmland ownership in the United States. And most importantly, we need to make sure that we don't make it too expensive for our farmers to do what they do best, and that is farm. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you did, give me a thumbs up before you go, or let me know what you thought down in the comments. I'll see you next time.